Keep moving. I think we lost her. No, no!
The demon blood must die.
Diablo III was a disappointing game. The combat was solid, the art design was great, and the abilities were varied and spectacular. All of this made it sting even more though, as the game was scuppered by some highly questionable design choices. The most damaging to player enjoyment was the inclusion of the auction house. This allowed players to sell their discovered items for not only in-game gold, but also real money. Rather than enhancing the addiction behind finding rare equipment, it just introduced a constant sense of frustration. Slaying an end-of-chapter boss would often result in a fountain of useless items, rather than awarding a unique new weapon or piece of equipment. This encouraged use of the auction house over actually earning loot by playing the game, which crippled the Diablo experience. Now, almost 2 years later, Blizzard have released the Reaper of Souls expansion. With it comes the removal of the auction house, a loot system rework, and a chance for Diablo III to prove itself as a worthy entry in the franchise. It's important to note that the patch bringing in the loot rework and auction house removal is completely free to those with the base game. Because of this, I'll be taking a look at whether the expansion is worth the purchase on its own merits. The most immediately obvious additions included in Reaper of Souls includes a brand new class and a 5th act that continues Diablo III's story. When I first heard about the Crusader, I wasn't particularly enthused by Blizzard's decision to go with what appeared to be another slow, tanky melee class. Therefore, I was pleasantly surprised when the Crusader emerged to be one of my new favourite classes. Proficient in both ranged and melee combat, the Crusader offers a lot of variety and choice in gameplay. Even at low levels he feels powerful, able to wield two-handed weapons with just one hand, while smiting enemies with lightning bolts. The Crusader also has a nice freedom of movement that further separates him from the Barbarian class. One of his most visually impressive abilities sees him riding a burning horse, allowing him to quickly escape battle or trample enemies for area of effect damage. The other classes have also been expanded upon, with the level cap being raised from 60 to 70. Of course, Blizzard are all about rewarding players every turn, so every level up grants something new. Each class has a new skill and modifiable glyphs, a few new passives, and a new slot that allows for a 4th passive ability. The 5th act in the story is another step in the right direction. The 11 zones offer some of the most impressive environments of the entire game. Again, variety is a big focus in the expansion, with each zone offering a multitude of side quests and random events. The 5th act is by far the most replayable of all the acts, and also the biggest throwback to the darker visual style of Diablo 1 and 2. Primarily taking place in and around the doomed city of Westmarch, this act introduces the Angel of Death, Malthael, as a new antagonist. Other than looking pretty creepy, Mr. Reaper of Souls is a rubbish villain. Other than an impressive opening cinematic, Malthael just isn't very threatening. He occasionally pops up to growl at you throughout the act, but he just isn't enough of a constant presence to be a truly effective villain. Of course, Diablo III isn't all about the story, and the Crusader class and new act are both great additions. However, while they're highly polished, they don't address the core problems that Diablo III had. Adventure mode is where the real meat of the expansion comes in though. This mode lets you battle through any of the 5 acts and take on bounties. These are randomised missions that reward you for completing certain events, such as taking out a mini-boss or slaying a set amount of enemies. For completing bounties, players are rewarded with equipment, gems, crafting materials, and rift keystone fragments. These fragments are required in order to open the Nephilim Rifts, a series of randomly generated regions and encounters. Completing a rift is possibly the best way to earn rare and powerful loot, with the randomised runs ensuring that each rift is a fresh, challenging experience. It's in this that Blizzard have finally given players a proper reason to jump on Diablo III's endless gear treadmill. Adventure mode is now a vital part of the Diablo III experience, to the extent that it seems incredible that it wasn't a feature from the beginning. There's a few other bits and pieces that also improve the experience. The Mystic is a new NPC that allows players to re-roll one of the stats on an item. She can also transmogrify pieces of equipment, which gives them the appearance of another item in your possession. All of these changes and additions amount to something that improves Diablo III in almost every way. The loot rework means that you feel properly rewarded for your achievements, the new act is a great piece of design, and the adventure mode offers potentially unlimited replayability, Not every issue in the original has been properly addressed though. Annoyingly, the game still isn't playable offline, and it's unlikely Blizzard will ever implement it. While I never came across any problems with lag or server issues myself, it's still irritating to require an internet connection at all times. If you really hated the gameplay of Diablo III, then Reaper of Souls probably won't change your mind. However, if like me you just wanted a proper endgame to work towards, and a loot system that isn't ruined by a real money auction house, then this expansion is the answer you've been looking for. Reaper of Souls manages to clear up the sea of issues that held back Diablo III, letting it become the great game it always should have been from the start.
My wrath is low.